Welcome to the channel all about economic board games. I've got a beast of a game for you today. It's this one here, City of the Big Shoulders. You can see it's brought to you by the designer there at the bottom, and we've got the artwork there. Now, this game is a 2 to 4 player game. You're probably going to struggle to get it under 2 hours, so probably 2 to 3 hours this one, and it's heavy complexity. And we are basically investors setting up businesses and investing in companies during the prosperous time in Chicago during this sort of spell of 1875. Now the game is quite sprawling. There's quite a lot here. That's the main board, and you're going to be playing over these 5 rounds at the top here. There we go, all the way up to 9:15. Now there's a fair bit going on, and today is literally just an overview. If you want a better insight, then check out my run through. I'll be bringing you guys next week. So to begin with then, you will have your private money and you'll be setting up a company. We've got the Crackerjack company here, and we've got A.G. Spalding just to the right there. Now when you set up that company, you can determine its value, and this is the stock chart, and you can see Crackerjack has started at 40 and Spalding's gone for 50. Now that's important because that determines how much money you've spent, and it might sort of deter people from investing in it if that's not what you want, or maybe you want to drop it to a lower price so they do start investing and bump it up. And when you get past this line, it means when you sell stock, you get better values potentially depending on your sales. So that's the stock track. Now essentially there's several phases to the game, and you've got this really handy sort of player guide here. Each player has one there. This is where they keep their private money in their shares. Your company also starts with one of these directors shares, which is 30% of the company. You get 2 workers. So on your turn then you got the stock phase. Now this is where you are going to be first selling your shares. So if you've acquired shares on previous turns for a host of other companies, and there's a stash of them here, Dog and Bassett, Swift and Company. Now they're all distinguished by what industries they're in. So these guys are selling meat, and you've got guys selling boots and materials and what have you in there. They're all very different, but I'll go through the player boards in front of us as to what some of that means. So you're going to be selling those first. So the first player might sell a share, get some money. Next player, you can sell as many as you want. Next player goes, they sell a share. You can then buy shares as well. So you can buy one stock certificate if from a company that's currently available. So to begin with, we could buy it from either our own, the Crackerjack, or A.G. Spalding. And then you can you keep going basically, so you can sell, buy, and once 2 players have consecutively passed, this is a 2-player setup here, that's kind of the end of that phase. You then move on to the buildings, and this way it gets interesting. You get given 3 buildings, and as you go through that out the decade, you'll get some more, and you can see you're going to pick one of these to keep, and this will be done secretly, and you'll pick one of these to discard and one to hold back. So let's just say we decide to keep this one, we're going to discard that one and keep that for a later round. Everyone does the same, so the other player's got 3 there, and it's kind of all demonstrated turn by turn on here. So you can see the first thing we do in clockwise order is sell share, buy share. Next thing you're going to be doing is this whole building thing, which is instantaneous, so everyone, well, simultaneous should I say. So we all do that. Now these actions, you can see yellow players going to be placing theirs here, and let's just pick one random for the green player. And these are important because you're giving your opponents the option, including yourself, to go to these new actions. Now you can see, looking at the board, you've got this. You can go here to get workers, which is great because your factories are going to require those to produce stuff. You can go, the green spots have these infinity symbols, which means any number of players can go there. But other than that, it's a typical worker placement where you go there first and that's it. So you can go and get sales managers, you can get sales managers, you can go and get these capital assets at the bottom, which bolt on to your company if it allows. You can see this one allows you to get it, this one doesn't, but you can still buy them and just use them as a one-time thing if you want. But essentially, yeah, there's loads of actions. So this one here, you got this iconography. It also says, you know, if you go here, if the company pays the actual player $20 for going there, this one, the bank pays the player $20, so, and it gives them a reduction of -10 when they come to buy one of these. You can see if you really wanted this one, this couple of assets going to cost you 70. I like the iconography across the game. It sort of tells you where the money goes to. So that gives you a 10 reduction. When you bring these out, it also brings workers out onto here, and as these fill up, it gets cheaper to buy them when you eventually go there. So that's kind of a big part of these as well. This one's going to give you an extra good, so when your factory produces, you can see if you pay the right resource and you have the workers, you're going to get 2 goods in this case, but I'll go through that shortly. So that's the building phase, and as you can see, you've got sort of decade 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. When you get to 3, you're going to get an extra worker. You start off with 2 and you can acquire them there. You can get more workers by running both of your factories. You can see there's a little guy there, and if you get up on this appeal track on the far left, you get some juicy bonuses, including this extra work, and there's 5 maximum you can acquire. Now you can see that more actions are going to come out from round to round. There's 2 and 3 there, and they're going to fill up and give you a host of juicy things you can do. So that's the building phase. You're next moving on to actions. Now, having a look at this one here, you can see it then goes on to the player order, and the only way to change your player order is by literally going to this one spot here where you get 1 extra appeal, which will make sense shortly. You pay your $20, any number of players can go there, so they can oust you, and you skip to first player. Otherwise, it's staying there for its entirety. Now, the actions you can do then, I've pretty much just demonstrated them. You've got, you get your workers, you can go first play and get some appeal. I've said what those are, various things on here. You can also at the top, if that sort of zooms in, you can pay from your company to all the shareholders a dividend of $10, should we say, per share that they have, including yourself. So a nice way to get the money from your company or companies, or company in this case, to your private funds. And that's important because when you go back to that first phase, you want money in your private account to be able to buy shares in other companies. This next spot means you can get $40 from the bank to your company, and as these are revealed from round to round, there's $60, and then there's, I think it's $80 under there. So that's a little bit about those actions there. And as I say, you can go and get these capital assets, which are really handy. You can activate those for the cost. So if you have that $10 one, you can do that one and get 2 blue cubes to that particular company. As well, I should add, in the first phase, when you sell stuff, that's what this is all about. You've got this bank pool. In a 2-player game, you can only have 10 stocks maximum, and this sort of gives you some directions. Bit confusing in some respects, that, but as to where money flows in and out. Action phase then. So after that, you go to the operating phase. Now this one is determined by your appeal. So you can see again here, the appeal determines what happens in this operating phase. And the appeal, you can see that each company has their own little tokens. You start on whatever it has on the player, on your little company board. You're going to go out, you go past here, you can choose to take $25, or you can get an extra worker, you get extra salespeople, extra automation, and as I said, there's a host of other things, extra meeple, which is massive. And that the further your company is up that track determines the player order of which company goes first. So what you're going to do on the operating phase then, you're going to run your company. So we'll look at Crackerjack. You can see at the moment when we run it, we need one of those what they call workers on here to be able to activate it, and we also need to have acquired a brown cube at some stage from somewhere on the board. Now we'll first of all have the opportunity, I'm trying to think where that was now, to purchase resources from the supply chain. So we'll do that first, otherwise you're going to have no resources to operate. So you can see at the top here, this is why the appeal track is important, because these resources are limited for now, and you want first dibs. So you can see you're going to be paying $10 from the company to the bank to get any of those goods you want, and they get progressively more expensive. And then after a company's had their go, they're going to shift down, and there's other ones here you can get for 2 to 1, so you can trade 2 goods in for one of those. There's a host of goods in the bag which will come out to replenish these spots as well. So that's how you're going to get the goods, and hopefully you've got some money left in your company to do so, because you might have spent that to do the actions. So let's just say hypothetically you had a worker there, you had a brown good, you could then produce, and you're going to produce 2 of these little white cubes, which I'll just grab a few. So on the side of the board you can say I've got all the shares there, all the companies, you've got all the sort of icons there, you've got your workers, your managers, sales reps, and these are these white little supply goods. So we've produced 2 goods, we put them at the bottom here, if that sort of focuses. If you have managed to complete this section as well, you've got 3 workers in there and you've got the red cubes, you can activate that section as well. And when you've activated both sections for the company, you acquire an extra worker, which is massive. Now throughout the game you might have gone to some automation spots. Where are they? Well, I don't think there's any out there at the moment, but when you acquire some of them, you can automate. So basically you get rid of your worker, you bring this up, and you no longer need a worker there. And it also reveals this spot, which means you're going to produce an extra good. So 2 plus the 1, you're going to get 3 goods when that produces. Now these goods, you're then going to trigger any manager bonuses. So you can see if you did have a manager on here, you're going to get 1 movement up on that appeal track over here, which is really nice. Same for this one. and you will then run the next factory, which we've said. You'll sell your goods. So depending on how valuable, if you've got salespeople, you can see it starts at $30 per good you've got. If you've got salespeople, it's going to go up in value. So let's just say we've got 2 salespeople on those meeples, and each good we sell to the demand is $50. So this whole bit here is about the demand tiles. Now, in this case, we are selling grain and wheat, should we say. So you can see that's going to be this top row here. So you start from right to left. It's usually more advantageous because you're going to get these bonuses. It only requires 1 good in there. Now, remember what we said, we've got salespeople, so each good we sell is $50 in this case. And we're going to get a bonus once we've completed that one, and they eventually all shift over and new ones come out, what have you. You need 5 goods on here. If you decide to go there, it might be that someone else beats you to that one, and you're going to get 20 bucks for the bonus. So there's a host of demand tiles for different industries you're trying to acquire, and they'll change throughout the game. You then calculate your run, which is basically your value of the goods sold. So if you sold 4 goods and they were $50 each, that's what, 200, and you then add on the bonus. Did I say that right? 4 goods at 50. Yeah, trying to do maths while film is quite challenging. So add that 50 on. So let's just say you've sold a good run of 250. You're then going to figure out how much that is per dividend. So you divide it by 10. There's only 10 shares per company, so that's $25 per shareholder per share. So if you own, in this case, you would 30%. And you keep all your shares near your company as well. So these guys on the personal have got 30%. They're going to get paid $75 if that company, which is up to you, your choice, you run it, is going to actually pay a dividend. Now, if you do, you potentially go up on this track here to increase your share price. And if you don't pay a dividend, it's going to go down in share price. But if you're not paying dividends, you're actually reinvesting that money or supplying that money into your company, which is great because you might need to reinvest it and do more things and get more workers and more managers. But if you do pay a dividend, everyone who has shares in your company is going to get paid them as well. Now, there's this sort of guide in the middle where if you actually pay, let's say your share price is 80 and you have managed to create a revenue from selling all those white goods of 160, it's twice as much, and it's basically telling you that you can move up 2 times on this track here, and that's what that line's about. If you haven't passed that line, you can see it's at $50, and you can see here $50, the maximum you get is 2 times, whereas 3 times would be great. So for example, if your share price is 100 and you produce 300 of goods by selling all that meat over here, and you had salespeople to sell it at a better price, you're potentially going to increase your share price by up to 3 times, which is a really good sort of sheet that to indicate how it goes. And obviously, the higher the value the shares go, it means that your company's worth more. And it means when you get to that first phase of the stock phase, you may want to sell an opponent's company or your own few shares here and there to make a lot of money into your own pot. Let's see if there's anything else on that was pretty much it. You then shift the resources at the top here. So if one of them's empty, let's just say these 3 have been taken, there's an empty one, so you move those 3 down, you move these 3 down, and you redraw from the bag on this spot, and so on and so on. And if there's nothing in the bag, you then put these back in the bag and shift those along. So a little bit of moving around of cubes there. You then go up to the cleanup phase, which is you discard one of the lowest value assets, and again, this is just an overview, so there's a few bits to just replenish around the board. But the main part of this game, folks, is running these companies and how many shares you're going to get in opponents' companies, and making sure you get the resources. Do you want to do a bit of automation, and are you going to focus on other industries? Because after the first decade, you can buy more companies if you've got the money. So again, say if you wanted to get into this industry because no one else is in it, in selling footwear, that's great, because if no one else is competing with you, you've got all these demand tiles to get the bonuses, and you can get the cubes you want, and there's no worries. And you kind of need that money to be able to invest in other companies as well. It might be that you have a little sneaky plan to not do a fat lot of your own company and run it inefficiently because you're going to sell your shares and you're going to buy it in someone else who's trying hard. Now, I should add that the game is all about money. At the end of the game, you're literally multiplying your shares by the number you've got by where it is currently on the share track. The actual money in your company is not really worth anything. So that's kind of why you want to shift this money as you can through dividends and through using this spot here to get it into your own personal supply, and any money you have left over in your personal supply is added on as well. So that is massive how you're going to win. Now there's also these extra bonuses you'll see at the bottom here. So whoever has the most workers over across all their factories get an extra 200. You got 10%, whoever has most of them 10% shares, whichever company has the most money. So there's a host of them as well, and they're worth $200 each. So that's massive, could really clinch you the win. So as I say, it's all about that buying and selling in the first stock phase. It's about getting the right companies, being as productive as you can. The building phase is, I love the building phase as to which ones you're going to bring out, because let's just say this person here, I don't think we showed you, this is the automation one I mentioned earlier, and they could bring out this sales one. So if they decide, right, I don't want to do that one because that's not what I'm fussed about, they're going to bring out this salesperson in the next round if they kept it, and it's suddenly you can get it for $20 rather than paying 60. So it kind of works to your strategy. But obviously if you bring something that's favorable to your opponents, you can see the money's going to go from the company of that opponent who uses it to the player's own investment fund. And that's nice, because the sooner you get more money into your own personal supply, you can buy these shares, and then when your opponents are working hard to produce, you're getting paid out dividends, that is if they pay them. So there we are, folks. Hopefully that overview has given you a really good insight into this game, City of the Big Shoulders.